everybody, to Park Lane Podcast, episode 51. Thank you all for joining us once again. If you're new to the channel, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. About 70% of you that watch the videos do not subscribe, so please do so. It's free to do so. It does really help the channel out. Make sure you like the video as well, and if you're watching on any podcast platform, make sure you leave a 5-star review. Right, let's jump into it. Wynnie, how you doing, mate? You good?
I'm surprisingly happy, mate. It's I don't want to jump the gun, but we look pretty good, so we've got a good show to talk about.
Definitely. And Callum, I'm trying not to look too smug week after week, but it's very difficult for me. How you doing, mate?
Match week 3, mate, with 7 points, so I'm happy.
Definitely. And Harry Scarf's also with us, who predicted we'd probably get approximately 1 point off the first 3 games. So how do you feel?
Thank you for bringing that up. No, I'm very good, thank you. I'd definitely take 7 points from my first 3 games. We come back to that at the end of the season because hopefully I could still win that predictors table. You never know. Not been the best start, put it that way. But no, we're playing some good stuff at the moment. And long may that continue.
Yeah, perfect. We've got a few people in the chat, so shout out to all of them. So we've got Robbie Collins. He said, hello, gents. Spurs are on fire. The goals you guys scored was something else, man. Loving Ange's post-match stuff. Just copy and pet, mate. And Haley, who's not Haley, I keep forgetting. I can't remember your name, but I really do apologize. You do DM us a lot, so shout out to you. Hi up, everyone tuning in. Sorry I haven't made it the last few weeks in the chat. I've been away. Spurs on fire. Levy out. And then he's also said, new kit, Wynnie, ?
It is the new kit, yes. It's the one.
Lovely.
I've even gone full on Wynnie on the back as well.
Oh, right. I thought you were going to show us your ass then from it. It's early doors for that. Waiting for my away kit to come. Should hopefully arrive by next week, but you never know. Barney Ambrose in the chat. Evening, lads. David Clark has said, hi from Leicester. Lads, have you heard Robbie Williams' song about Ange? It's sensational. Yeah. Look it up. It's worth listening to. But before we give Robbie Williams all the credit, shout out to the fella who started it. I think it was last weekend after the United game. Sang it at the stadium, and just saw the clip of Robbie Williams also singing it.
He's brilliant, to be fair.
The bell end Robbie Williams, though, isn't he? But do you know what?
He's up from my way. He's not far from where I live.
Really?
Yeah, that's where. Because
will be bell ends where you're from then.
I was hoping you weren't going to say that, but yeah, pretty much, yeah, I suppose.
Anyway, I've broken my don't swear within the first 3 minutes rule, but never mind. We move. Right. So let's all have a little chat about yesterday's game. Away at Bournemouth, early kickoff on a Saturday, usually the one that kind of puts a spanner in the works, but, very comfortable in the end 2-0 win. Harry, I'll come to you first. Kind of give me your overview on the game in general.
I was really impressed. I think that we performed well. I thought it's quite a big challenge because I think Bournemouth had spells in the games that were very good, and we managed not to concede. I thought we were really, really strong, and I thought I didn't think Maddison would play, so for him to play and to score, it turns out to be the right decision, and he didn't get injured as well, so that was perfect. I think Postecoglu's in-game management is fantastic. I think his substitutions, the timing, and the personnel, I think, was spot on. Perisic coming on had a huge impact. We saw that against Man United, how his subs got over the line, if you like. So no, I was impressed. I think it was fairly comfortable for getting a couple of spells that Bournemouth had. And like I sat on here and said last week, if we can do it, against Man United, we've got to do it. No disrespect to Bournemouth, but smaller teams, especially away from home, only winning 6 away games last season. We found that not easy, put it that way. So no, it was a good win, fairly comfortable. 3 points, we move on. Good.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a message in the chat saying it's Dave on today. Thought I saw his name on Twitter. You did. The problem is that I schedule all of the shows on a Friday, and by Sunday it all changes, which is why I didn't put Callum in. So, Dave out, Callum in, super sub at the ready. So, what can we ask for? I've also got another comment. Richie was a weak link, in my opinion. Don't worry, we'll get on to Richarlison. And knowing Bournemouth, was a tough place to go. Spurs are pretty comfortable. It doesn't matter what midfield three you guys seem to play. They're just incredible under Ange. Anyway, know who Robbie Collins supports? Robbie, let us know in the chat.
Oh, no, yeah, that'd be interesting.
A Spurs fan. But anyway, we welcome all fans, unless you're a bellend. And then, to be honest, I'll welcome you anyway. But anyway, Wynnie, how'd you find the game?
I must admit I didn't get to watch it live, unfortunately. But I was keeping track of it on my phone and through football Twitter, because that's normally a good indication on how we're playing. But yeah, I mean, look, I think we look comfortable. I don't think I've seen Spurs look comfortable in a very long time. We're normally looking like scrambling around the pitch. Nobody looks like they're confident. But it's the complete opposite at the minute. Now, look, if this is how it's going to be for the rest of the season, then bring it on, because, I'm not going to get ahead of ourselves, but we look good. We do look good. And it's not, and I think as well, and I'm not sure why, but we seem to be getting a little bit of respect from rival fans, which I've never seen with Tottenham. Like we've seen, and I think it's maybe because they realise they don't have a choice, because we do look genuinely, quite some force. But yeah, I mean, like we've said, bar a couple of chances that Bournemouth managed to create, I think we were fairly comfortable. And again, I took Maddison out my FPL side, annoyingly. And because I didn't think he was going to play, but he did, and it was the perfect decision, and it was spot on. So happy days, mate.
Yeah, definitely. And apologise to Robbie, because we have spoken before on Twitter, to be fair. He's a St Mirren fan, and he got to watch Celtic under Ange for a few years, and also been under a few hammerings from them as well. David Clarker says lots of players could have got man of the match, but mine was Van der Ven. I thought people said Van der Ven can't win headers, really. I thought with his blocks and calmness in possession was excellent. And shout out to Johnny D. He said hello and congrats for being above Arsenal in the league and fully deserved. My respect. Can you stop putting emojis in, by the way, Johnny? Because it spins me out when I have to read hand pink waving. Yeah.
What does that mean? What is he doing with his hand? That's what I want to know.
No, exactly. It's odd. Anyway, Callum, did you get to watch the game?
Of course I did.
What do you think of it?
Miss them? Good for 70 minutes. 20 minutes of it before, 10 minutes before half time, 10 minutes after time. I was very concerned. I thought that realistically we should have gone in 1-0 against Bournemouth at half time, and they probably could have scored another 2 goals after half time. But as soon as he made his subs, he made them about 60 minutes, turned the game on its head, and it made it good for us. So yeah, I just think that because of how young a team we've got, there's always going to be moments in it where there'll be a bit headless chicken or a little bit less composure than I think he would like. But we're only game 3 in. He needs time to get them playing completely how he wants them to be.
Yeah, 100%, mate, because that's it, isn't it, really? People talking about Spurs get ahead of themselves and this and that and the other. I put a few comments out this week, just to see kind of what people's reactions were. And everybody that watches this show and has watched it in the past knows my thoughts on Antonio Conte and others before. And, I'm not always right. There will be something I'll discuss a little bit later where, potentially I got it wrong. But, what we need to remember is that Ange is 3 games into a Premier League season, his first ever Premier League season. And it just shows what an unbelievable coach he is. I don't want to call him too much of a, manager. He's an unbelievable coach at the end of the day. And, coming into a football club like he's done at every other football club, bringing in new backroom staff every single time and still managing to transform players, doing something that no one has done for a long time, which is change players' attitude mentally as well and getting them to buy in. I have no idea what he said to these players, but he must have said something pretty good, because every single one of them is, is loving what he's doing and really just respect him for it. Wynnie, we'll come back to you for this one. Come back to you for the opening goal. And I'm pretty sure all of us took James Maddison out of our FPL teams, which is why we're all useless at FPL. But the ball was on the right-hand side. Pedro Porro plays it into Bissouma. Quick turn into Sarr. And then again, what a pass it was from Sarr into Maddison. And all he needed was a little deft finish, and in the back of the net it goes. But James Maddison is just world-class, isn't he?
Do you know what? I used to watch Leicester in envy because of James Maddison. He's a player that we were linked with from his previous clubs that he's been at. We've been linked to him a few times, and that's because I think it's evident that he is a Tottenham Hotspur type player, someone that's so comfortable on the ball, someone who can just put a ball through, but between the lines into the striker. He's unbelievable, and to get him at the price we got him at as well, with the crazy, the way the market is so crazy at the minute, it's ridiculous that we got him for so cheap. But yeah, look, again, Pape Matar Sarr, massive credit to him, because although that was it looked an easy ball on paper, it wasn't, because he had to get the perfect weight on it. And it was a great run from Maddison. And if I'm honest, it was poor defending, because the defender that let Maddison and running behind him saw him coming. So I think he was just hoping that it'd be offside. But again, like you say, a little deft touch enough just to roll it into the corner. But he's an absolute superstar, and he's someone who I can see, hopefully now becoming a Tottenham legend, if you wish.
Yeah, definitely. And Callum, I don't really want to talk about this very much because I think it's a non-story whatsoever. But it kind of relates into James Maddison, when we look at the story, the interview with Laura Woods on TNT Sports, and I think it's a load of bullshit, really, like what everyone's moaning about. But the way he answered kind of that question and the way he performs on the pitch kind of go hand in hand, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah, he showed he's professional. Simple as that. And I mean, the way that she was going there ready to ambush him, simple as that, mate. She's full of shit. She's an annoying pundit. I can't stand some of her views, but she's paid to do a job. Maddison's paid to do a job, and he answered it in the most professional, composed way he could. And he's now proved on the pitch that he's playing for Spurs. Simple as that. And Spurs have looked at Maddison for so many years, and we finally made the right decision to go and get him after 7, 8, 9 years of tracking the bloke since he was at Coventry and all that. And it just took its time. But we've got him. He's playing well. He's got, I think, 2 assists, 1 goal to his name. And we can't complain. Let's just let him get on with his job on the pitch and leave these poxy interviews like they've been doing all summer. One ambushing him with trying to see if Harry Kane was staying, and now trying to work out why he went to Spurs. They're just, everyone's out for us, so let them be out for us and we'll just prove them wrong.
Exactly. It's a classic Spurs love story, isn't it? Where the tale of the story is it took time, which seems to be everything that ever happens at Spurs ever. Anyway, so some more comments to get through. So David Clark has said, I thought it was a great coaching by Ange and Bournemouth went man-to-man marking. He got Maddison to come deep, pick up the ball, which gave the extra man on Bournemouth. Couldn't get to grips. Another comment here saying, do you remember we all thought we were getting Nagelsmann in the summer and a lot of people were upset that we didn't? I'm glad we have Big Ange. He is amazing. It's his birthday today. So, as I'm sure you're watching, happy birthday to Big Ange. Exactly. Johnny D said midfield is where games are won and lost. Sarr, Bissouma and Maddison alongside a good champagne coach. I assume that means it's exactly what Spurs doctor ordered. Good job. Well done. I am concerned.
We like to hear, Johnny.
Exactly.
Oh, yes.
And that kind of brings us next to the next goal, Harry, at 2-0. So, what we saw from Maddison was, these runs from, I don't want to say deep, but these runs from midfield bursting into the box. But what we got for the second goal was a left back made a marauding run from left back all the way to overlap the left winger and got across to Decky, who slotted it in. Destiny again, Udogie, is just an unbelievable player and has just dropped into this Spurs team like he's been there for years. And everyone said, can he play as a left back? Well, when you're playing as a inverted left back, but also at times playing as a attacking midfielder and at times playing as a left winger, you can do whatever you like, can't you? Because he's just, again, world class.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adoku create that move out of nothing. Nothing was happening. He had two around him. So not only to do what he'd done in terms of take on players and basically turn them inside out, but to keep the ball in is just one thing. But to not only keep the ball in when you're running out of room, the pressure's on, but to deliver the quality of cross. Maybe it's luck, I don't know. Kulusevski, right place, right time. I'll leave that up to the individual to decide. But it was perfect, right to the man in Kulusevski. Good place, good time. Good finish, I guess. But I think Kulusevski needed that goal because Percy, I don't think he started fantastically. At the same time, his job in this system isn't always going to be on the score sheet. He has a lot more, I would say, providing to do, and is a lot, more of a winger than a forward, if you like. But no, it was a really well worked goal. Lots of people continue to tell me in the summer that Adoki's not ready. He's going to have to go out on loan. And for someone who spent a fair bit of time researching and watching Adoki for Udinese when I could, especially when they play bigger games against oppositions, Juventus, Roma, Milan. I thought he was excellent and just always seemed to get on the goal. Always seemed to have a goal contribution, assist. His name was somewhere, or excellent piece of defending. So I'm not surprised that he's kind of walked in, adapted to this role, and thrived in it. So it's great to see. Well worked goal. And overall, a much deserved 3 points, but there's still, I think, areas to improve.
Yeah, definitely. This is interesting from David Clark, who says we won't go for Johnson now because he suffered what looks like a serious hamstring injury. We will get on to that topic towards the end of the show, but that does make for interesting read because, I was on Holly Agenbar's show on Monday, and the fellow that was on there with us, Josh, he was talking to me after the show, and he basically texted me and said the Johnson deal is back on. Spurs are going all out for him. So this surprises me now that obviously if he has got this injury, it would look like Spurs aren't going to go for him. Wynnie, I'll come back to you because I don't know if you saw the 8-minute long post-match interview where Big Ange decided to go into the studio of TNT Sports and have a little chat. First of all, when was the last time you ever saw a Spurs coach just go up to the studio and just sit and have a chat with everyone?
Never. Like it's the Pochettino days, isn't it? Pochettino was very similar. Everyone, I think everyone, even though he was Tottenham Hotspur manager, I think other people adored him in the sense that he was a nice, he was a likable character. He just talks sense, and I think that's what we've got in Big Ange. Like I like it, but at the same time, it's like I almost want to just stick my middle finger up to everyone because they hate Spurs. They make it quite obvious they hate Spurs, but now all of a sudden, they're making a big deal that we've got Big Ange because he is a really good coach and a really nice bloke at the same time. So it's almost a little bit, it's just a little bit off-putting of, do you know what? Like he's like I said before, he reminds me of Martin Jol, and I think that's why I love him so much because Martin Jol was one of my favourite, even though he wasn't exactly spectacularly successful under him. He was a lovable character, and he was almost like it's like you turn up and you'd be chatting to your granddad at the football and stuff. You know what I mean? He's such a really really nice bloke. So look, I watched it and it was a very very good interview. Even the start when that bloke was miking him up. And he come up with that really witty comment. So yeah, look, he's just a really, really likable character, and I think it's just something we're gonna have to get used to now. We're going to be seeing people applauding Spurs a little bit more than we're used to. So we need to get used to it, mate.
Yeah, definitely. And Callum, during that interview, he had a little, dig at Gary Neville by saying that he's copying Pep, and he just seems like. Bear in mind, right? He doesn't have to go up to this interview. It's not scheduled for him to go up and talk with Peter Crouch and Joe Cole, but it just shows after the game that he's just happy to be a Premier League manager. He's doing well, and he talks no differently to how you or I would chat for having a beer in the pub.
I don't think it's sunk in yet for him how far he has come. And all that. He's just happy to be here, like you said, mate. And I think he just wants to make sure that he portrays the right message. He's not in it for himself or anything like that. He just wants to keep progressing, build up with Spurs, all of that stuff, and then see where it takes himself. But it's actually just nice to see him throwing some shit back at them idiot pundits and all that. Because, I mean, no matter how much bollocks you get out of Jermaine Genius and people like that constantly, Genius, Lineker, you're all Spurs players, you're ex-Spurs players, some of you are legends. Bloody back the manager. And I mean, even Gary Neville, I mean, he played as a fullback for 20 years. And just because it's different to how it was in his day, he don't like it. Well, fuck off. You've had your day. Let someone else do it.
Yeah. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all, mate. And that's it. But one of the interesting things about Ange, Harry, is that, I don't expect you to, tell me all of the information. But one of the interesting things that kind of no one really knew, and is the most odd thing I've ever heard in my life. But he was coached by the football legend Puskás at I think it was one of his clubs in Australia. So no wonder he's got incredible tactical and ability, because this is one of the best players of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I heard that the other day. I don't know where, but yeah, there you go. Listen, I've been really impressed when Ange has come to Tottenham Hotspur. As you know, he wasn't my number one on the list, put it that way. But at the same time, I can't see wherever the people who use the hashtag no to Postecoglu, they've disappeared. They should be. There's still time to delete it. There's still time to apologise. But this is where I talk about there is sadly a part of our fan base that think they're entitled. We're too good to have Postecoglu. Well, that's been proved wrong already so far in 3 games. No, he's done fantastic. I like the way he comes across to the media, the jokes he makes, whether it's with the dig at Gary Neville, whether it's with a bit where he's getting mic'd up in the studio, TNT studio. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. His press conferences is when he gets asked about the weekly reviews about the podcast. I think he's just great, so chilled, laid back, everything we want in a manager, and just how quickly he's turned the players, the fans, to believe in his project and what he's doing, and give the club and the ball credit where credit is due. This looks like, I'm certain of it, is a fantastic appointment at a time where the board and the club, probably rightly so, were coming under a lot of criticism on and off the pitch. Really difficult season last season. The worst season I've had anyway in my lifetime, finishing outside of Europe. So there's big pressure on the club to act. And they did so. So he looks like a great appointment. But no, that doesn't surprise me. He's in-game management is exceptional. Inverted fullbacks, what he's doing, whether Gary Neville likes it or not. There's a reason he's sitting in the studio and not out there on the football pitch anymore. So I just don't think he likes it. He doesn't like the Tottenham doing well. He's just a salty bit. I'd love the United tears after that win. That was fantastic. Probably even better than the game itself. But it's great to be able to enjoy watching our football club again, and the smile back, the feel good factors back, the vibes within the club are back. It's just a really happy place to be. So long may that continue.
Yeah, definitely. I had a feeling that it would happen, but I definitely didn't think it would happen. As quickly as it has done. Just quickly before we move on to the new topic, quick off the cuff chat. So quick, I just want the position in where you think we'll finish in the league after the first few games. So I'll start. I think we'll finish 5th. Wynnie?
5th.
Callum?
5th.
No, look at you all joining in.
I was going to say 5th. I've got to be different. Wait, let me think. Let's be bold. 4th. Let's go with 4th.
Yeah,
lovely.
Fair enough.
Thank you very much, Harry. Right, okay, so let's get into a bit of chat where, first of all, I've got to do some apologies to one man at Spurs, Christian Romero, because, I know exactly, Harry is shocked.
Wow.
I was a little bit critical of Romero towards the end of last season. And, I think still rightly so. But this season, he has been absolutely unbelievable. Let me run through some of the stats I have. So Christian Romero has won every duel that he's been in. So that's 7 out of 7. He has the joint most recoveries of 4, most interceptions of 3, most tackles of 3, and misplaced only 1 pass out of 37. Wynnie, you can give me some shit if you want now, but I was wrong about Romero, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to give you shit, mate, because we all say things that we feel at the time that may, turn out to be incorrect. That's just what happens. I was wrong with Postecoglu when I was very underwhelmed when we appointed him, and I'm completely flipped in turn now. So it can happen. It can happen to you, Luke. It can happen to anyone. Do you know what I mean? So look, he is an absolute Rolls Royce defender. I said that to you when you mentioned this before, and I will say it again. He is, as has been put there, the best centre back in the league. And I will tell you now, we have the best centre back partnership in the league. That's an absolute fact. And I will die on that hill. There's no better than us than what we have. But yeah, Romero, look, I have no doubt that he's obviously got that ingrained in his head. He will probably still lunge into a few tackles like he did on the edge of the box. That one which has come under a bit of criticism, the one that looked a bit like a scissor tackle. For me, it was a perfectly good tackle. It could have been if there was more of a scissor action, or if he left the ground, it could have been a little bit more dangerous, but it wasn't, and he won the ball. So yeah, he's still going to have that. There's going to be moments where we probably have our head in our hands, but in terms of ability and everything that comes with it, he is the best defender in the league, and I'll stand by that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. Callum, I saw you pulling a few faces then, because when Wynnie mentioned that tackle from Christian Romero, again, I was at an appointment, so I couldn't watch the game on Saturday morning. But obviously, watching it back, I didn't get to see it in real time. But what are your thoughts on it? From me, the angle that I've seen, I don't see much wrong with it. I think he gets the ball and then he gets the player. My issue is that do you just stop tackling now because you might happen to get the player as well?
You don't stop tackling, but from the angle that he made it at, it was more towards going into the back of the man than trying to play the ball when it was in real time. From some of the angles, it didn't look like the cleanest of tackles that he's ever done. He's done a lot worse. He's done a lot better. I think it's one of them 50-50s where you'd say that he just needs to have a bit of common sense when it comes to it. If you're going to do it in the centre of the pitch. Don't do it on the side of the bloody box and all that. But no, to be honest, it was a fair challenge, I think, but it seemed to rile up a couple of Bournemouth fans. And to be honest, I'm not going to lie, I don't think they're going to do much anyway. So I think that if we run with the principle of it, that it's a tackle, it didn't have anything reviewed or bad about it, he's just got to get his head straight. Simple as that, because there are still some very rash moments in his game where, even though you've read out them stats, Luke, there's still stuff that stats don't get picked up and all that. You have to see it real time, real action to see that some of the bits. He's still a young defender. He's still only 25 or 26. He's nowhere near his prime. He's got 3-4 years probably till he actually matures properly as a centre back. And I'm hoping with the composure that Van der Ven brings to it, they'll actually calm him down a little bit, because at least he's not darting forward like he usually does. That's one good thing, at least.
Did we all see that back heel that he'd done on our own touchline as well?
Beautiful.
Oh, that was naughty. That was naughty.
Great.
Who would even what other Premier League defender would even try that, let alone pull it off? It's just ridiculous. I'm all for it. I don't mind it.
You might have had Alisson Coif turn. That's about it, and see how that goes.
Kyle Walker did it today, and they conceded from it. So that's the only issue with it, isn't it? Is when it doesn't come off, it can go wrong. But Harry, thoughts on Romero?
Firstly, I want to address your situation with Romero. There's no getting out of it. Listen, you were partly right, but partly dramatic in terms of how bad Romero was last season.
How dare you?
Wow. I can understand where you were coming from in terms of he was rash last season, and it was a problem, and he's calmed down a lot this season. So I can understand that part of it. But in terms of the tackle, one thing I want to see is it's great. One thing I want to see is consistency. And listen, I'm glad it wasn't given as a foul or anything more, that tackle from Romero. But you watch the Liverpool-Newcastle game today. For me, it's very similar to what Van Dijk got sent off for, apart from in a slightly different area of the pitch. For me, it's a foul and yellow card. But lots of people disagree with my opinions when it comes to free kicks, penalties, handballs. But it's like I said, I think against Brentford, that Son, that for me that's a foul. Because that's been given around that game week. So we just want that consistency. So of course you can tackle, but for me, he gets more man than ball. I've watched it back a few times. For me, it's a foul, but it wouldn't have changed anything really. It would have been a yellow card. But yeah, I completely agree with you, Wynnie. I think we've got the best partnership between Van de Ven and Romero. I think they've been excellent. Conceded 0 goals, by the way, between both of them, because Romero obviously came off against Brentford. They're just fantastic. And I worried in that Bournemouth game where we gave them a lot of space because our fullbacks play almost inside, because they are, the way they play with the fullbacks. We leave a lot of space, and at times it was 2v1 down both sides. But where I'd usually have to worry, Van de Ven and Romero cleared everything. The Bournemouth winger would have loads of opportunities to put the ball in the box, cutting inside, but it should be dealt with our defence. So yeah, again, give the credit to the club where credit is due, whether it's Postecoglu suggesting him. I don't know. That's not down to me to create rumours and guess, but it's an excellent signing for the manager we've got, because otherwise you've got Man United and Bruno Fernandes quality. Without Van de Ven, they go put the ball in behind and you score against Tottenham Hotspur. Romero, because the problem was, I think Romero took on too much responsibility last season. And look next to him, saw Dyer. Look next to him, saw Emerson. Looked left, he had Davis, or depend whatever system we're playing in. Sometimes nobody, and he'd have to take on the responsibility, and he'd do rush things. But now he's a lot calmer. I think being given that vice captain role, and especially a top quality partner with Van de Ven's really helped that. It's a great signing. But yeah, with Romero, hopefully this continues, but that he's still doing rash things like he did there for me with another referee, the one that the refereed, I don't know who it was, Newcastle and Liverpool game today. That could go a bit wrong, put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. And both of you have mentioned the best centre-back pairing in the league, and I want to talk about Van de Ven next. But Barney has said, been impressed with your defence. Will be interesting to see how you line up against Fulham on Tuesday, but I definitely expect changes on both sides. So I got some more stats for you about Van de Ven, because these days are full of stats.
You're prepared.
This is the new me. This is the new me. So three games in for Van de Ven, he's got a 94% pass accuracy. He's won 4 out of his 6 aerial duels, and he's won 14 out of his 18 duels in general. Callum, how impressed have you been with this guy to be able to slot straight into this team?
For a 22-year-old, I was very surprised. I think he's taken to it like a duck out of water and all that, mate. He's very much composed. He's shown that, for one, he can actually win a duel in the air, which I think everyone was saying that he couldn't do. So that's brilliant. I think he's very much a calming head alongside Romero as well. So going on like what Wynnie and Harry have both alluded to, he does suit the partnership there compared to just say if we'd have actually gone out and got a tap sober, because I think we'd have 2 people trying to headbutt the other players instead of 1. So I think we've been quite lucky. And I think when you look at Van de Ven, he does have like the composure. When you would look back, the closest comparison would probably be Vertonghen, someone like that. That when Vertonghen was playing, he was always the calm, composed head, and Alderweireld would do the dirty work sort of thing out of the 2 of them. So I think that he's done very well. But has he really come up against a proper Premier League striker though? Yeah, that's my only concern. We had and Bournemouth for Brentford, who's converted winger. You had Rashford, who didn't even want to play up front at all for United. I don't even think he wanted to play. And then you had Samayu, who for Bournemouth has only just come in realistically to sort of where he is, and he's been playing Championship football, so he still needs a lot of development. So I think the partnership needs a test, and I don't think they've really had it that much yet. So I think to see how good Van der Ven and Romero are so good together, and be Van der Ven on his own, they need a challenge. See how they go against Haaland, because I mean, Sheffield United's defence kept him quiet today for 63 minutes. So let's see if our one does it, or whether one tries to scissor kick him and all that. We'll see how that goes. But no, I've been quietly impressed. I'm not someone who's going to start blowing smoke up his backside yet, mate. But I think he's been good.
Nice, Wynnie. What do you think about Callum's comments? Because we saw against Rashford last weekend that he can keep up with the people in the league that have that pace. But Callum is right. When he's against a much stronger, less quick, more powerful striker, how is he going to get on? How is he going to get on in a foot race potentially against Kyle Walker when he breaks forward? Against Man City.
We'll see, won't we? We'll see when it happens. But I mean, from what I've seen so far, I have no reservations about how he's going to do. I think he'll deal with it all with ease, without even breaking a sweat. Because that's how impressed I have been. I don't know if it's because the typical Tottenham way is we buy these players and then it takes about 2 or 3 months to get them in until we see them, up and running. Whereas Ange was like, no, mate, like you're in first game against Brentford, you're coming straight in. I know you've only trained twice, but that's why we brought you. That's why we paid this money. We don't normally see the effect of these players for a good couple of months. So look, other than Haaland, I'm not really concerned about any other Premier League striker, because I don't think, if you go across all of the sides, I mean, obviously Darwin Núñez done well today when he came off the bench, put two good finishes in for Liverpool. But there's no certainty that he's going to be starting or playing when we come up against Liverpool. So I'm not concerned about any other strikers. Rashford is very, very quick, and he dealt with him again, like, as we said, with ease. So look, he just looks so calm, so calm on the ball. The way he plays out from the back with the ball. And Romero can do it also. So I think we've got a great partnership. And like I say, I think because of his age, he's only going to get better. I think his ceiling is so high. And I think in a couple of years' time, we could be looking at, maybe the heights of, like when Van Dijk went to Liverpool and he was the best defender in the world. I think we could be seeing, I'm not going to say he's going to be the best defender in the world, but I see his ceiling is definitely as high as, if not even more.
Yeah, and quickly, Harry, you can't disagree with what either Wynnie or Callum have been saying. But, as a 22-year-old, 3 games in, barely any training, really, and 94% pass accuracy, he definitely suits this team, doesn't he?
He definitely does. And like I say, it's a really good appointment in terms of what he offers with his pace at the back. I think he's excellent. The stats are great. He hasn't put a foot wrong for me. Just generally, wow. I've been super impressed how quickly he settled in, but he's not the only one. Adoki, I've been impressed how quickly, like we mentioned earlier, how quickly he settled in. All these players, listen, Ange deserves a lot of credit, but to be fair, the players do, after obviously the criticism they rightly got, along with the manager, along with the owners last season, to adapt to a new system. And it may sound easy, but we're talking, it's been since 2018-19 before we played anything similar to this kind of football where you're constantly on the ball, constantly moving, and your fitness is a very, very key part of the game. And tactically, there's so much more into it. And I mean, I think that the players will love this system. Maddison thrives off it. Basuma thrives off it. We've seen that. Sarr, Romero. It's just great to see Porro. So yeah, Van der Ven's done really, really well. I think our partnership, like when he says right now, you can't get better than that. I really don't think you can get better than that, and that is saying something. Obviously, the real test will be in the London derbies. When we play the likes of Manchester City, but we faced Rashford. We faced already faced some good players. Rashford, Bournemouth's pacey wingers, and Brentford's Mbeumo and Wissa. And they dealt with them all fine. But it's when you go into the season, when Man United improve in the reverse fixture, can we do that at Old Trafford? Cold windy night, can Van de Ven do it? Can he keep the defence out? It's a big question, but he's done so well so far, settled in really, really well. And another thing that I can say, long may that continue, because he's excellent. 2 clean sheets in a row. Perfect start to the season. He's been excellent.
You're muted, mate.
Again.
There we go. Wynnie, I just want to talk to you quickly about Sarr. We touched on it last week, but this another, incredible talent that we've got at Tottenham Hotspur, a young guy, and he's just going from strength to strength in this Spurs squad, isn't he?
And again, it doesn't surprise me because we saw glimpses of it, when I've talked about it previously on the pod, away at the San Siro when he was chucked in with Skip, and they both dealt with it incredibly with such maturity for 2 players at such a young age. But Sarr, did anyone see the clip of the training where he did that little? Someone crossed in, he did that little flick from behind.
Lovely.
What I'm trying to say is, if Ronaldo would have done that, everyone would have been going crazy. It'd have been all over social media. Like, this guy has so much talent in his body. His energy is just infectious, and that's what all you hear Ange say. And when everyone talks about him, it's his energy, and just he's always smiling. And look, it helps that he's got the talent to go with it. I've said before on the pod that he was going to be our standout player this season. And obviously we're 3 games in, so we reserve a massive, amount of judgment, but he looks like he's going to be our standout player, like I said. But yeah, absolute bundles of talent. And I think he complements the system and the clientele perfectly in Basuma and Maddison.
Yeah, definitely. I'm putting this out there right now, but this is early doors, and whatever happens. But this guy will be, mark my words, one of the best midfielders in the Premier League has ever seen. I guarantee it, because he is absolutely incredible. Right, I'm going to move on. Going to start with you, Callum, before I go to Harry. I want to talk about Richarlison. And all I wrote down is, what are we going to do about Richarlison? So, yeah. Have you got any ideas on what we do with this man?
Here we go.
I'm guessing if we are playing at Fulham on Tuesday, we tell him we're playing at Nottingham Forest. We send him somewhere completely different. I really don't know what's going on with him. I mean, I just think the front 3 itself hasn't really clicked yet, and it just looks like they haven't played together. But for someone who's Brazil's number 9, he looks so devoid of confidence, mate. He looks so off pace. He doesn't look sharp. He looks constantly like he's 2 steps behind everyone else. And I know Ange has bigged him up and all that, and I hope he comes good. But after 3 games, he's literally had about, including 3 chances yesterday, he had about 2 against United and about 4 against Brentford. And it kind of concerns me when you're trying to play a profile of player who, when you've had Kane, they're then trying a different profile up front. And his profile should be suited to Ange's football, but I just don't see what people see in him at the moment. I mean, for 60 million, we've literally paid 60. Well, at the moment, he scored 3 goals for us. Each goal's worth 20 million. That's how bad it is at the moment. And I mean, I remember when we came on here just before the start of the season, and when we were saying that hopefully that Sailors game was going to give him the load of confidence and everything like that. And it just don't look interested. Yeah. I don't know whether he actually wants to be here or what, but I would rather start Perisic or Solomon on the left and play Son through the middle and all that, because at least we've got proven results. I know it's only 3 games, but it's only going to get tougher. It's not going to get easier, and he either needs to knuckle down and get on with it now, or we need to bring someone else in. Because if we're going into the season with Richarlison up top, and just say if we loan out Dane Scarlett, like Troy Parrott's gone out this week, I don't realistically see us having a guaranteed goal scorer up there. And Johnson, I don't think his stats are that great either, but we'll cover that later on.
Yeah, definitely. It's really interesting, Harry, because, I mentioned pre-season, and this isn't a dig whatsoever, because, as we all say things that don't come true, and yours still might, but, I said that Richarlison would score 7 goals this season. I genuinely don't think he even hit 7. And that's how worried I am, and that's, and there's nothing against you, Harry. I just mean in general, I don't think he's bad. I just think he's deprived of any confidence whatsoever. Let's take the moment yesterday where he gets the ball and he does everything right. A little flick behind his leg with the ball, and then he just takes too long. Kane would, and we shouldn't compare them, right? But Kane would make the first touch, and then he would score. Richarlison takes the extra one, and then the extra one. Do you know what I mean? And it gets to a point where the shot has gone. What do we do with Richarlison, Harry?
So it's a great question. I dread to think how many goals I thought he would score.
20 to 25, I think, was the amount.
I did not say no. I did not. Get lost. I think I said. Did I? I thought I said 10 to 15.
No, 20 to 25, mate.
Well, he's not scoring that. He's not scoring after that.
All we've seen with him, tricks, flicks, and bollocks. That's all it is. That's all he is.
He's let me down as well. No, listen, he's someone who's proven he can do it for Watford and Everton, and I still believe. Thank you for that. I still believe that he can do it. He's just his confidence, and it's so frustrating to watch. Like that move against Bournemouth. Of course, Kane finishes it. We can't compare him to Kane. It's just so frustrating because he does everything right, and we know that people are only going to remember the bit where there's an open goal and somehow he hasn't put it in the back of the net, or the bit where he falls on the ball and gives away a foul. That was the all-time low of the game for me. That is just, if you're going to fall over on the ball, run away from the situation. I get the eager to win the ball back, but he's not trying to win the ball back. He's trying to reach out and stop his man. He's never going to get to the ball. He knows what he's doing. It's just frustration. So yeah, he's rightfully brought off, because I think if he'd been on it any longer, he was at risk of getting sent off. Can it work? Yes. Will it work? Who knows? So the club need to sit down with Postecoglu, with the whole board, and before the deadline shuts on Friday, end of August, and go, do we have 100% confidence in Richarlison? Because if not, go out and buy someone else, because we can't be, in this situation where we get to big games around Christmas, or we get to North London Derby, Richarlison hasn't scored yet, had no goal contributions. Do we start him, or do we go with Son through the middle, who, in my opinion, looks crap through the middle, but lots of people disagree. So it's a difficult situation, put it that way. We haven't gone out and replaced Kane. There's big pressure on Richarlison's boots. He's got his opportunity now. Personally, I think people are jumping on it too quick, because I don't think Son and Kulusevski have been that much better. But however, we're having this problem, 4, 5 and more games time, where it's not necessarily he hasn't scored or contributed towards his goal. It's that his basic things, such as his touches are really appallingly Sunday League low, and it's such a shame, because I know he'll do it. I know that he'll leave Tottenham and he'll go and score a lot of goals for his club and do really, really well. He proved that at Everton and Watford, and I don't think that this is necessarily too high level for him. I just think I don't know if he feels the pressure on his back. But what is nice to see is I think the players are all behind him and want it to work. We can't have this situation for too long, and we're going to have to probably spend the money on buying somebody, but made it difficult for ourselves because we failed to offload Deadwood. So the club are in a difficult situation, but we need to 100% confidence in Richarlison, or you go out and buy a new striker, because there's no point having someone as your striker all season not having confidence in them. For me, you stick with it and hold out to January and compare the kind of the stats and his confidence then. But he's not looking good right now.
Yeah, definitely. It is worrying as well, going back to this comment, going towards what Ange Postecoglu has said about Valith and that, he doesn't expect him to start or play this side of Christmas effectively. Like, I'm not being rude, but how bad must he be if he can't get in over Richarlison? Because I don't think it would be a bad, unless he is woeful, then why did we buy him? But do you know what I mean? Like, he can't be any worse than what we've already got. And, just shout out to Sam Cornish here, who said, can't write him off after 3 games. He's not played any minutes as our striker in a Conte system, let alone Ange's. Ange's 9 had the least touches in the SPL last season. It's how it works. Agreed. But at least they scored. Like, my point is that we can't just keep putting him in. Like, what do we do? Do we go out and buy a winger? Or do we go out and buy an actual striker? Because that's realistically what we need. We can think of all of these different things that we can do. We can put Son in the middle. We can play such and such here. We can, go for a younger player. We can go for Felice and so on and so forth. But, we need somebody to come in and score goals because we can't always rely on, our midfielders and our defenders to score. But just quick shout out to a few people. So Jay has said, evening lads, Richarlison not having the best of games at the moment. Glad Tottenham are starting to have good entertaining football. Are we signing any more players? Maddison is just world class. And Rodrigo Roadman has said, gift is over. He's not coming. It'll be about Brennan. And Sam Cornish again has said, only Kulu has scored in our front 3. There are issues with our front 3 for sure. But, I believe a striker, when you're playing as one striker, is similar to a goalkeeper in the sense of if a goalkeeper lets in a few howlers, you don't let him get away with it. Unfortunately, it's the same for a striker. But let's move on quickly. Before we get on to the Fulham and the Burnley game, and we also talk FPL and the score predictions league. But I really want to get real brief thoughts, because there's a lot of talk about Brennan Johnson, but then we've heard today from David in the chat that Brennan Johnson's now got an injury, which may mean that we don't end up going for him. Wynnie, where do we go? Right, real quickly, do we need a winger or do we need a striker?
We need a striker. That's what we need. I play football. I'm a striker. I know how it feels when you have a run of games where you don't score. You start to feel the pressure. Obviously, it's magnified massively in Richarlison's case compared to mine, because he's on TV, he's in the Premier League, he has a lot more on his back. But he's just lacking confidence. That's all it is, and that it's the same with any footballer. It's just confidence. So yes, we need a striker, in my opinion, because we put it this way: Richarlison is very, very lucky that our new system allows other players to dip in with goals and stuff and assists. So we're not heavily reliant on that number 9 to score, thankfully, even though he should be. Winger wise, I like Johnson. I think he's a very good one-on-one, which is something that we don't really have at the moment with our wingers. Solomon is probably our most direct one-on-one at the moment, and he obviously doesn't start games. So I am concerned possibly about the price tag for Johnson, but look at the market at the moment; it's going absolutely crazy. So I don't think we can look into anything in terms of price tag. But look, I think we need a striker, but I don't think we're going to get one. I think we are more likely going to see a winger come through the door. But I haven't seen anything regarding that injury myself. So it'd be very interesting if he is injured, because, I think it'd be very silly to buy someone who's injured who potentially may be out for a month or however long it may be.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I got really distracted because I read this and I got really confused. And Jay said, I get why they're buying Johnson because he's 22. Gift Orban is 30 years old. And I was like, what? This must be the only thing I've never heard of in my entire life. Don't panic, people. He's only 21.
That's how much they want for him, Jay, not how old he is.
Oh my God!
Oh Jesus!
That's absolutely brilliant. I've absolutely lost it. Yeah. So Geordie has said hello, and Terry has said, "Yeah, Jay, Gift is 21, mate." That mate, honestly, Willie, I'm sorry, but that confused the hell out of me. I had to go on Google and be like, surely this is the oldest 30-year-old that no one's ever heard of until this season. Like that would have been absolute madness. Anyway, quickly, Callum, do we need a winger or do we need a striker?
I'm in agreement with Wynnie. I'd rather a striker, but I think the way that Ange's style is, he utilises more. Well, he uses utility wingers, people who can play across all four positions across the front line. So if we're playing a front four like we are at the moment, I think Brennan Johnson can fill in there, but I guess you're paying 50 million because of the English premium and Premier League experience. But I'd rather gift Orban. I'd rather gift any day of the week to at least, because he's guaranteed goals, but he is young. He's going to need time as well. And he's from a different league. So you're going to have risk, whatever you take. So I want a striker, but I can see it being a utility winger. As long as it's not Clinton Njai or Nkodu, then we're all right, because they was very dark days.
Or Vincent Janssen. But anyway, that could be the new gift Orban.
He's actually the top scorer again ahead of Gift Orban in the Belgian league at the moment. So, I mean, we could go back for round 2, maybe.
Yeah, we've probably got some kind of like mad sell-on clause as well, haven't we? So recoup some funds that way. No, I just don't understand why. You know, I only know about Gift Orban from the fella that we had on our Twitter space recently, and he sold me fully on this fella. So. You know, and I saw him. My good friend of mine supports a team in Poland, and so you know, I often watch their games, and we talk about it. And then they played them in Europa Conference League playoff games, and he looked good. He did look good against them, even though they played their like youth keeper or something in goal. But anyway, so that's the only bits I know about him. But I'm in agreement with you. Like, I don't think we need any more wingers. You know. We have got Solomon who can play both wings. We've got Perisic, who we know that Ange trusts, who I didn't really like or don't really like. We've got Son, we've got Kulusevski. We've got even the likes of Pedro Porro could shift forward if needed be.
You've missed someone out there. You've missed someone who's going to thrive in this system.
Yeah, go for it.
Brian Hill. Brian Hill.
Interesting.
And yet, if you look at the stuff on Twitter, apparently he's going to be offered to Notts Forest as part of the Brennan Johnson deal, mate.
I think he's someone. I think he's someone who, again, I think in the right system and the right management, the right coaching, he's someone who can thrive and has got a very, very high ceiling. So it would be interesting to see. I would personally keep him and test him out in this system because, again, the wingers, we need them to be direct. We need them to be fantastic 1v1 against the defender. And he is someone who is exactly that and fits that role perfectly. So that's why I think he will be huge to use.
Harry, really quickly, do we need a winger? Do we need a striker?
Good question. I think we should focus on getting players out the door.
For God's sake, Harry, that's not the question, man.
No, it is because you say whether we should prioritise a striker or a winger. Neither until we get players out the door. I still want to see 5, 6, maybe more players go out the door. I think the squad is way too big. And you've got players that haven't been in the squad for 3 games and the wage is high and sometimes maybe ripping up the contract. But I can give you an individual, not answering the question, but I'll go with an individual. I was against the signing of Brennan Johnson until recently, sat and thought about it and thought he can technically play on the wing and as a striker. And I'd offload about 4 or 5 players in the deal. You could probably get him for 15, 20 million. Then it's a good signing. You can offload, for me, you give them Ndombele, Dyer, Lloris, Spence. There you go. That's the 4 already. I could keep going. To be fair, Reguilon, maybe Reguilon instead of Lloris. You can fit loads of players in there, and we end up getting the player for a lot cheaper. So there you go. Works out both ways.
If we're giving them all them, they owe us money. We don't owe them 20 million.
We get it for nothing.
The problem is Nottingham Forest are already under FFP bloody guidelines. So the only reason they're going to sell Brennan Johnson is because he's homegrown. So that's one way they can get in money. Whereas everything else, the deal's going to be scrutinised. And yeah, if they bring in
Levy will find a way. Levy's
if they
clever.
bring in 6 of our unwanted players, then
Who said 6?
You literally just named off 6 players.
I can narrow it down.
Oh no, let's come on. Let's move on from this nonsense, man.
And Dombele Dyer 4. There you go.
Jesus Christ. Anyway, let's move on. You know, again, I'm not someone that knows a lot about Brennan Johnson, but again, like this is what we asked for.
Football League?
This is what we. I don't watch fucking Nottingham Forest. Give it that.
Fair enough.
We asked for a more stats-based approach. We asked for to do things like other teams are doing and so on. Now we need to just back what they do and allow it to happen, and then judge it from there. But right, we're going to move on to quick talk about FPL before we talk about I know everyone's favourite time of the week. So if you are new to the channel and you've not joined our FPL league yet, head over to our Twitter page and you'll be able to find the pinned tweet, which Harry will do for me now, and put that as the pinned tweet because I keep forgetting, where you can put the code in and join our FPL league.
Code?
Huh? It's on a tweet somewhere.
All right, hang on. Suspense.
So as they haven't updated the leagues yet, we'll have to go on what they were last night at about 9 p.m. as that was the last time they updated the app. So top of the league with 174 points is Brainy Paul. And 172 points is Jack Johnson. Dave is third with 167 points.
Big Dave.
Yeah. Harry Scarf is fifth with 158 points. Wynnie is sixth with 152 points. Luke is ninth with 135 points.
Where are you, Luke?
You wait till you get today's in, boys, because I've absolutely spanked a lot of you. And Callum, because you joined late, you're only on 60 points.
Yeah, poor Callum.
Unless you pull out like the Leicester City of FPL runs because you joined so late, I could be surprised if you don't have Derby kind of points come the end of the season. But
I've probably still got more points than Derby have had probably in the last 3 seasons, mate. So I think I'll still be all right.
Right, let's jump on to last week's score predictions. So my favourite part of the show, we'll go through the score predictions.
Yeah, I bet it is.
So Dave went for a 3-1 Spurs win. Callum went for a 4-1 Spurs win. Wynnie went for a 2-1 Spurs win. And old Harry Scarf went for a 5-1 Spurs win. I got the correct score of 2-0 Spurs. So it does this to the leaderboard. I am running away with it at the moment with 4 points. Everybody else has got 1 point for getting the Spurs win. This could change it, though.
That's what matters.
This is going to change this week. We've got 2 games. Watch out.
Exactly. You can thank Harry Scarf for this because he decided to put a spanner in the works because he's losing and put in cup games as well. So we are going to go through one by one and talk about the games this week. We have Fulham away in the cup on Tuesday night, and then we've got Burnley away on Saturday, 3 p.m. So as Dave is not here, he's already sent in his score predictions as per the rule. So I will read them out to you now, followed by mine. So for Fulham versus Spurs, Dave has gone for a 2-1 Spurs win. And I've gone for a 1-0 Spurs win. Wynnie, what are you going for?
I'm going to go for 1-1.
1-1.
Yeah.
Callum, what score are you going for?
I'm going to go 2-1. And I believe, is there replays in this round or is it straight through?
Straight through. Done on the night.
So 2-1. This is I should count. There's a 90-minute result if we're going to do it this way around.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, 2-1.
Yeah, okay.
2-1. So you've gone for the same score as Dave and Harry. What are you going for?
3-1. I think. Sorry, Barney, but I think that we will win. I think it'd be a tough test though.
Perfect. 2 secs. I'm just updating the.
I just think there's going to be too many changes. I really do. I think we're going to, and I don't mind changes going forward. It's going to be the changes.
Strong though.
It's going to be the changes at the back that concern me because we're going to be probably seeing Eric Dyer and Davinson Sanchez as a back two, and they're not confident. So.
I think we'll see. Sanchez and Van der Ven. Personally, I think he'll keep Van der Ven in to get him a bit more game
I
time.
hope so.
Harry, you got any thoughts about who we might change in the starting lineup?
No, because there's Postecoglu's head. I haven't found a way to get inside it yet. But for me, I keep the team strong. I'd probably, you often change the goalkeeper in that round, but I keep the team as strong as possible. Minimum let's put it this way, maximum of 2 or 3 changes, I think. Because listen, we haven't won a major trophy since 2008. I could go off on one here, but I'm trying not to. We've got to treat every cup competition seriously. Conte didn't, Mourinho didn't, so hopefully that can change. And sadly, treating it strongly isn't playing Eric Dyer, Jed Spence, and Ndombele. That isn't treating it seriously. I'm sick of the amount of times Middlesbrough, Sheffield United, same day, a year apart. We get knocked out, expect to go through, bring on the subs too late, the big players, and we've lost the game. It's embarrassing. I think rival fans set an alarm every year for when Spurs get knocked out, the FA Cup or Carabao Cup against a small team. But hopefully that can change. I don't think I'd change anything. I'd maybe force us back or Austin in goal. Apart from that, I'd keep it the same.
I genuinely think we'll see Emerson Royale at right back.
Yeah, little change like that could fine.
I think we'll see Sergio Reguilón on left back. I think we'll see Skip come in for Sarr. I think we'll see Lo Celso come in for Maddison. I think he'll stick with Richarlison up front.
In that case, we're losing.
I think we could see Solomon or Perisic come in.
Can I change my prediction?
Yeah, give me your prediction. Yeah, go on then.
No, I'll stick with 3-1. But if we get that lineup, then I think we lose the game.
Anyway, I think that yes, he has to take the cup seriously, but I also think he has to use this time to see how everybody is playing, because we may get into a point where Maddison can't play and he is out for a long time. And especially with what happened last week, that would be the one that I think we would definitely see, because I don't think he can, guarantee that Maddison doesn't get injured. But who knows? And that's what will happen. But what we'll do now is we'll move on to the weekend game away at Burnley at Turf Moor. Dave has gone for a 3-0 Spurs win. By the way, everyone, this is Dave, who doesn't believe Spurs will ever win anything, ever. And,
he's such a hypocrite.
Taking this so seriously now, but he's gone for a 3-0 Spurs win. I've gone for a 3-1 Spurs win. Harry, we're coming back to you for this one.
I hate to be the negative one, but I don't think we win.
You don't hate it though, do you?
Well, I always have that part of me that quite enjoys going off on one, but no, I said that I thought we'd get 4 points out of our next 2 games. That was Bournemouth and Burnley, so I somehow got to stick by that. I think it'll be a goalless draw, 0-0 Turf Moor. I think that Burnley will sit back and defend. We struggle to break them down. I think Burnley will be toothless up front. So I think obviously we deserve to win the game, but I'm going 0-0.
Ooh, a 0-0. Wynnie, are you as pessimistic or as optimistic?
I'm optimistic, but I think because I've been a Tottenham Hotspur fan for so long, the pessimism is just ingrained within me. So I think it's going to be 1-0 Spurs.
1-0.
Yeah.
Okay. And
I was going to say 1, but I've changed my mind. So clip that when it is 1-1 and I'll be fucking furious.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
Callum, what are you going for?
I watched them against Villa today and Burnley looked devoid of any teeth up front. But, I mean, that was us yesterday as well, apart from our other players. So I'm going to go 2-0 Spurs. But I just hate going to Turf Moor one way or another. It is the most turgid ground apart from Stoke. So, yeah, I'm going to go 2-0, but I think it's going to be a slog. I think it's going to be a long game.
Perfect. 2-0 Spurs win. Do you know what? If we get 3 clean sheets on the bounce in the league, 2 away games and a home game, you can't argue with that. Quick shout out to Barney in the chat. Him and Harry are going to Craven Cottage next week. I will be featured by the club's official account, who will repost our pictures and videos talking about neurodiversity at games. We will also get a number of pictures of us together at the ground, so keep an eye on social media. So for those wondering why Harry is so suddenly pro Tottenham Hotspur, this might be why. No, I'm only
Wow.
No, it's absolutely brilliant, Harry, both you and Barney. Do
Thank
great
you.
things online.
Massive
So,
credit. Massive credit.
yeah. So have a good
Yeah.
time. Perfect. Right. And that kind of wraps us up for today. So just want to thank everybody in the chat that's joined us, everybody that's watching. Obviously, if you are new to the channel, make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. It's free to do so. So easy. You just literally click on the button below. Click the like button as well. And if you're listening on any podcast platform, make sure you're giving us a 5-star review. But Harry, I'll come to you next. Have you got a show this week?
Yes, I have. Well, test me then. I should do. Yeah, I think so. I planned for it so far in advance, I forget about them. You see, it's a bit worrying. But no, thank you for having me on once again. Like Luke said, don't forget to smash that subscribe button because it is so simple, free to do so. Helps the podcast grow. And you know, it's quite a bigger number that don't subscribe. It's similar for pretty much every channel, mine included. It is so simple. So come on, you know, we'll all support one club. We all support Spurs. Let's get behind each other. And you know, you're all welcome here. But if you want to follow me, got my handle there, Harry Scarf 22. We've currently got the nominations for the Football Content Awards. I have put myself forward for that. So any nominations would be great online, or just go to my pinned tweet. How to do that? There's a couple of different ways you can vote. So to get into the top 10, the category I'm focusing on is the best young content creator. So to get into the final 10 would be an absolute privilege. And obviously don't forget to nominate the podcast as well in the chosen category. And subscribe to my channel, Scarby Spurs. Well, there is a show Monday. Trying to think who's on. I think Rachel's back. I've got Pav from Paxton Road TV. Got a Bournemouth fan on that. Worked out well. It's 2 weeks in a row I've got that spot on. I bet he's going to be loving that. And someone else. So yeah, it could be a good time. So thank you very much for having me on.
Also, Harry, can you speak to Rachel and ask her what her thoughts are about Ange Postecoglu? Because she was featured in my latest tweet of comments that said he might get the fans on board, but not the leaving out group. So I just want to know.
All right, okay.
Ange Postecoglu. So anyway, also wish her well, obviously, with everything that she's gone through.
Yeah, no worries.
Wynnie, how can everyone find you?
Wynnie 1991 on Twitter, and obviously one of the admins for the Park Lane Podcast Twitter. To be perfectly honest, I mean, we're getting some good interactions through Twitter. I work from home, so I think I'm probably best suited out of all of us to try and keep up with it when I can. So I'll try and think of something controversial to throw out there tomorrow. So if you do see it, you know, please interact and just send us messages.
Perfect. And Callum, you're becoming an absolute gem on this show these days. You know, you're fitting in absolutely perfectly well. So thanks again for coming on. How can everyone find you?
As down below, Callum Stubbs 97 on Twitter. It's great every week, mate. As long as I'm not asleep next week, I think we'll be good. I think I'm finally getting to the stage where I'm having to stay awake this early on a Sunday evening. And thank God it's bloody bank holiday tomorrow. But no, to be honest, mate, it's a pleasure to be on as always. Obviously, my views are my own. I will always be happy to speak and have a laugh with everyone about them because some of them are bollocks, some of them are fun. So why not?
Exactly, mate. Exactly. Talking about being tired next week, I'll probably be the most tired. Is for those that just saw me on Twitter, I'll be taking part in a charity walk, 16 miles for Macmillan Cancer. So, you know, you don't have to, but if you want to go over to my Twitter page and donate, again, like even if you've got £1, you know, everything will help, and should be a good day for everybody that's going to be there. It's a huge organised event, so I'll try and get some pictures for the socials and whatnot, but I will be back, hopefully, unless I get lost in the woods.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Exactly, yeah. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in again today. Every week it gets bigger and bigger, and we really do appreciate every single person that watches, listens, subscribes, comments on Twitter, talks to us in our DMs. You know, everything that you guys do is really, really appreciated. So don't forget, we will be back next week, Sunday, 7 o'clock, where we'll talk about 2 games and hopefully be through in the Carabao Cup and another win in the Premier League. But until next time, a big come on you Spurs.
Come on you Spurs.
Come on.